It's a little nap. Okay, we're starting to record now. Community dinner, April 2nd. April 2nd. Oh, that's right, it's my mom's birthday. Mother dedication to mother's birthday. I won't say her age though, but I'm 55 and she's 20 years older than me. And my mother is still not medicated and she's still doing really well. So I'm impressed. And she taught me all the basics, and I still turned out like Kramer, socially, but she tried to get me to be socially normal, but it didn't work. My brother, it worked a little better. He's a little more socially acceptable. So we're going to talk about spring cleaning. This is spring cleaning this week. I have 2 insights that came up last few nights. Anybody have any questions? Because we have a couple generic questions going. One about is vinegar cleansing, another one is fat. Can you do raw fats cleansing? What about snacks? And I have a psychic phenomenon. Anybody have any dying, burning questions about cleansing that I'll throw into the improv act?
Okay, another one.
Isn't vinegar cleansing?
I'm going to talk about why. Yeah, it is.
Okay,
It is.
okay.
It is. I'm going to talk
That's
about
enough.
So when people don't take the SP cleanse at the correct amount, six of them 3 times a day, you just stretch it and try to do that first week longer. What to do when people are forgetful.
Okay, so non-compliance with supplements.
Medical. That's so bad.
Non-compliance.
Yeah. Forgetfulness?
No, we'll put forget.
Order followers around here.
We'll put forgets.
Okay.
And then how to move forward.
Yeah, what to do.
Okay, let me move forward. Okay. Great. Well, that's actually a good starting point. I call it non-compliance because it is. I mean, it's kind of in the end. I was at this is a slight digression, but I was at a Kriya chanting thing years ago, and I had gotten 12 hours of sleep. There was no reason to be tired, and then in a 35-minute mantra, probably 5 minutes into it, I was just dying of fatigue. And then I was like a therapist years later, and she said, well, what happens is we have these avoidance mechanisms. So we might forget, but part of us is actually sabotaging ourselves. We might get drowsy when we're in the presence of a high-level being. We might get distracted with ADD when we're in the presence of a high-level being or energy. We might, so there's a lot of little ways that we distract ourselves. And so one of my teachers, he flew all the way out from the East Coast. It was Michio Kushi, big macrobiotic teacher. He flew all the way out to Seattle to see this guy. And the guy paid for his flight and for him to be there. And as the story goes, Michio walked up the stairs, took one look at the guy and said, I can't help you. You're not done with your suffering. Got back on the plane and flew back.
Wow. To Boston.
Yeah, I can't help you because you're not done with your suffering. And that is the place that I sit with a lot of people. You say you want to get well, but you don't do anything about it. And then, my latest newsletter kind of sums it up. I said, if you want to play the victim in my latest newsletter, you're not my client. I don't take victims. I take empowered people that want to take action, and so moving forward, I have a lot of clients that they forget their supplements and the cleanse is over and then they just let the bottle will sit for like 2 years. It's like, well, why don't you just finish the freaking bottle? Like I take the SP cleanse in a normal diet, sometimes in between cleanses, just because it's so helpful to move along stuck emotions and stuck bowels and stuck kidneys and stuck liver stuff. So what you do is you take your doses, and even if the cleanse is over, you just keep taking it between meals until the bottle's over with, and then you still get the benefit somewhat. They like you to take 7 3 times a day, 21, for most people can work up to that. I did 5 3 times a day. I finished my first bottle and I'm going to renew. I don't know. This is phase 2 part. So this is SP Green Food. I was kind of bragging about this last week. So this product is barley grass juice concentrate, Brussels kale, alfalfa juice, and buckwheat leaf juice. And no one's heard of buckwheat leaf juice, but it's the highest known source of functional bioflavonoids. And when I say functional, I mean you can actually take it and get a verifiable result. Unlike with some other products they brag about it, but then that's what I spent my career 25 years studying, is who's getting results and why. So that's product line. I use the product line because I don't give a crap about your rat in vitro study. I give a crap about you take a product and you get well. So that's why I'm with this line. And they have 1,000-acre largest regenerative farm in North America, standard process out in Palmyra, Wisconsin, 1,000-acre regenerative farm. And they've been around since 1930 as a family-owned company. So the final reason I support them, I only support family-owned companies in my business. They're still family-owned, and they'll always be family-owned, is the promise I was told at a conference a few years ago.
Love it, love it.
He says, I get a $1 million offer, $1 billion offer from a corporation at least once a week. The president said this a few years ago. And he said, I will never sell you out to a corporate interest.
Like Mega
And
and the other ones.
One of their employees' stated mission, and I'm saying this publicly, is to take down the pharmaceutical industry. That's why I love this company. The founder, Royal Lee, was constantly bashing the FDA and the AMA, and they tried to kill him numerous times, just like they tried to kill Gershon.
Wow.
And they did kill Gershon the second time around, but the first time he made it. So this product is what you take after the first week. You get your phase 1 detox kind of stirred up, the first stage of detoxification. And then they believe, and they've been doing these purifications for 50, 60 years. So, again, there's results. So the green food's the second round, and the color of the liver is green. So we talk about frequencies, that the frequency of color is green for the liver, and it's green food. See? So your question, good with that? Okay.
And if you want to, you could extend the first week and go a little longer and take the whole thing more than 3 weeks if you so finished with your SP plan.
Exactly, yeah. And I will mention, I mentioned that last time, a few of you weren't here, but I had a woman that some of you know, and she did her first purification years ago. And I knew, I typed her out, did her intake. It's like, you can't do the full dose of 7. You can do maybe 3 for your first dose. And then maybe take 3 once a day the first day, then maybe 3 twice a day, second day. And the maximum dose is 21, 7 3 times a day. So it's a gentle product generally, but I knew. And so she took her first dose of 7, got cocky, and she was in bed for 2 days.
Wow.
And I warned her.
Yeah.
And she got cocky. And said, well, that's why you got to listen to the teacher, I never listened to my teachers, and it got me in a lot of trouble. Right. I'm a hypocrite. I didn't listen to my teachers either. Michael Tierra said, don't ever use red flowered passion flower. You're supposed to use the blue passion flower leaf to make tea with. And I had this red plant. It was with Kelly. I was living with Kelly Deary at the time, actually. And we had this red passion flower all over the backyard. And Kelly's like, I don't think you should do that, Craig. And I'm like, fuck it. So I made tea with this red flowered passion flower. And guess what happened?
Got sick.
No, I was up all night. It's supposed to be a sedative, and instead it did me the opposite. So I was buzzing all night from the poison, whatever poison it did. Passion flower is a level 2 herb. There's level 1 you can take every day, and then there's level 2 where you take them for a few weeks and you got to take a break. Kaba's in that category. Passion flower, golden seal, they're all in that category. You don't want to take them too much, too long, because there's a cumulative toxicity. You could argue comfrey has that, but I don't follow that line of reasoning, because comfrey is the studies done with comfrey were done with the equivalent of like 2,000 pounds of comfrey were fed to a rat, and then they got pyridinoline alkaloid liver toxicity. And it's like, well, what human's going to eat 2,000 pounds of comfrey? I mean, give me a break. Same thing they did with the monkeys and the weed. They give the monkey the equivalent of 70 joints, and they say, see, pot causes lung problems. Well, yeah, you're gonna smoke 70 fucking joints. I mean, my God. Out of context, hello.
Who's doing the studies?
No, that's a long question. So I'm going to stick to the spring cleaning. So non-compliance, I'm with that.
Smoking joints.
Yeah, so again, let's try and keep if you have a question, just kind of raise, and then we'll come to it later, because I'm going to digress probably too much. So this would be the 3rd week of cleansing now. And that's why I'm asking for questions, because there's a lot of stuff that can come up, symptoms and whatnot. I'm going to start though with the psychic phenomena. See, I'm in week 3. Today would be day 14. Still no caffeine, which I've been on daily caffeine for years now. And the thing I discovered about it, I started using it consciously when I had a breakup. And I know caffeine, I don't feel as much. I go upstairs into the head. And so it was very effective for my grief. It was the love of my life, heart was broken, probably used to excess caffeine for a year or two. And I didn't, I was like, good to go. And as soon as I stopped, oh boy, it was like the grief was just waiting on this island. And then as soon as I stopped the caffeine, the boat went out to the island and it was like, oh God, I've already paid fare for this. And then recently, that's what I noticed, really raw feeling again. I had forgotten because we moved, and this last house I was in, I had a horrible housemate that put me into severe trauma. I mean, Jean, no one really knew how bad this woman was, and then got Jean and everybody like how bad the house was. It got better, and then the move. Yeah, I mean, I needed to be off caffeine. My blood pressure was falling 20 points standing up, and some of us did the blood pressure check, and so that was where for me is like, if I do a stimulant and I'm yawning 5 minutes later, that means my adrenals are little shriveled raisins, and they need time to rest and repair. And that's what happens to me is I'll get a length of time where caffeine will be effective, and then I used to have that horrifying realization on coffee when I was studying for finals or whatnot. And I'd get like the fourth day and be like, okay, work for 3 days. And then that fourth day, 5 minutes into it, and then, oh, I'm so tired. What the fuck? I'm drinking coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that means I need to stop. And if it happens to you, it means you've reached the end of the party and you got to give your adrenals a chance to restore. And then there's other animals out there that they don't have any trouble with caffeine. Like my brother can drink coffee right before bed, go right to sleep.
Oh, wow.
If I had a cup of coffee before bed, there'd be no sleep. So the secondary phenomena that I noticed with being off of caffeine, who has great studies on caffeine is the Ticino website, because they're invested in the non-caffeinated herbal coffee substitute beverages, right? So I've been doing this, I'm going to do a big caffeine blog because caffeine is a plant poison. It's not made for human consumption. Plants make caffeine to kill insects from eating the plant. And we have this Sandor Katz in his book, from his fermentation book, he has a whole chapter about this, how we've been enculturated into believing that this has helped make us more productive. It cuts off blood flow to the brain by 35%. That's an NIH study. So what are we doing? What the hell are we doing?
How much caffeine are you talking about? 1 cup?
1 cup of poison?
Yeah.
That's what it is. I'm just being blunt because one of my teachers was like, everybody likes a poison, so choose your poisons carefully. And caffeine is a deadly poison. Some people just metabolize it more quickly than others. So my point was that you go off caffeine, you can't really cleanse on caffeine. You can't also cleanse when you're eating hot, spicy foods. And they knew this a long time ago, but it was taken out of the record, so to speak. Garlic, we were picking on garlic last week. Garlic cures, here's the statement my teacher said, garlic cures all diseases, except the ones it causes. What's heating? Garlic's very hot. So it's going to aggravate heat conditions. If you have a wind heat condition with a bright yellow tongue there, tongue coat's yellow, and you've got a fever and whatnot, and you take garlic, it's going to aggravate it. If you have a white tongue or a clear coated tongue and you're feeling cold and chills, then garlic might help that situation. Garlic's well known as a cardiovascular helper. That's great for the blood, clear out toxins in the blood for those with cold, not those with heat. So the person with heat, they'd want to cook their garlic. Get the, how glutathione, you hear that word glutathione? Well, the onion family is high in thiols. So that spicy flavor in the onion, that's feeding your glutathione. Yeah, it's a thiol, it's a sulfur-based compound. And so that spice in garlic, the spice in onions when they're raw, that's feeding your cells glutathione.
That's good.
It can be good if you're already glutathione, if you don't have any trouble there, then you want to be careful with the heat again. And the onion family also increases desire. I was a yogi, have been a yogi a lot of years. I've done a lot of meditation retreats. I've done a lot of austerity and even semen retention stuff and tantric stuff. And I'll tell you, I've done experiments with this, and garlic will definitely get your libido up.
Garlic's in the onion family.
Yeah.
But they chase them.
When the monks are meditating, I was in monasteries. They don't feed garlic and onions in monasteries to men. They don't. They give them chase tree, vitex. That's what they got its name. Chase tree berry. They would feed that to the male monks because it would make them not desire.
And then they chase trees.
Chase trees.
Yeah. The one-liners are great. You ship in those one-liners, man. That's just the golden, because there's a few people that watch these, and there's probably about 20 or 30 people that'll watch this, and that's why they watch it, is just for the banter and the fun, and health's got to be fun, The guy standing up there like, I'm going to pick on Kerry Bone for a minute. This herbal teacher in Australia. He's a genius formulator, but here's how he talks. And the science NIH study says, reference 5.8 through 6.5. I lasted through half of one of his lectures and then I had to leave. I was just like, and people were like, well, you're gonna go see Kerry Bone? Like, I'm sorry, Kerry, we really love you, but you need to work on your presentation. Yeah, just, I mean, Michael Tira, one of my teachers, like he was the opposite of that. The guy he would blah, and then blah, and you never knew what was coming out of his mouth, and that keeps you on edge a little bit, Same thing with me.
Like us here.
You never know what the hell I'm going to say.
Right.
So in the third week, I think the hardest part about cleansing is probably the first couple of days, and then usually sometime after the halfway point before the finish line. It's like I'm on day 14, so it's kind of like, what's the point? This little voice in the background, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. It's called the secondary voice. I was telling Monica about it earlier. So let's go into that. The secondary voice. See, I told a few of you the story. I guess repetition's okay. I told a few of you this story, but I met a woman. She has an Australian blogger, and she had this weight loss program. And I was intrigued, and so she had all these testimonials on her website, and I contacted her, and so she was interested in doing a trade. And so what she does is she, over Skype or a phone, she gets you before bed. She says, just lay down in bed, and I'm going to speak in tongues to you before you go to bed. And you're going to be completely at peace when you wake up in the morning. And you'll be completely at peace forever afterwards.
Oh.
Red flag. Red flag. Red flag. Well, yeah, I told her bluntly, I said, this is great, but I go, I know there's a sine wave of life. And what you're saying to me speaks of quackery.
Yeah.
And I said, but I'm curious enough to try what you have to say. So the first night, I went to bed and I took a bong hit before I was so over. I was like, I'll take a bong hit, I took a bong hit, laid there and speaking in tongues and a few words here and there, and then woke up and I was in bliss the whole day the next day. I was like, wow, this shit works. And then it faded, over the course of the next week and kind of back to normal Craig. And then we had our follow-up week later and I was like, oh, this is cool. And another one. And then there was a diminishing return. There was maybe 12 hours of joy and then maybe half as long. And then the third session came 3 weeks later and then maybe like, another half of that. So it was like another further diminishing returns. And I told her, so this isn't going to work. You're making these bold claims and you're talking in tongues and it's not scientific and my client base isn't going to want this at all. So we kind of went our separate ways. And then about a month later, I was really angry about something. And I noticed I no longer had the secondary voice saying I shouldn't be angry. It's like there was just anger and I was okay with being angry. And then I was sad the next day. And then there was no secondary voice saying you shouldn't be sad. And then I realized that's the deeper pointer of what she's pointing at is true peace is found when you're at peace with where you're at, no matter what state you're in. And I was pissed off today and tired all day yesterday. And it's like, I don't have a voice saying I shouldn't be the way I am anymore. And that's a huge gift. To not have the secondary voice screaming in your ear. You shouldn't be this way. I mean, I used to have some guy back here, he would, if I made a mistake or spilled something, you fucking idiot. I'd have that in my head. It was brutal. It was like being abused my whole life. And then it finally went away. It was like, wow, now that's true peace. You don't have the judge inside anymore. I mean, I still got the judge, but it's just a lot softer. Does that make sense? Do you guys understand the secondary voice?
Yeah.
Yeah, I call the second arrow, you know, there's all kinds of.
The second arrow,
Second
yeah.
arrow.
Yeah. So it's a true bit of peace. And I don't know, you know, was it her? Was it all the other work I've done? I was telling Monica earlier, like chances are when something happens in us, it's already happened. And then our ego wants to take credit. Ooh, how did I do that? What's the formula? It's like it already happened. It was divine grace. So shut the hell up and stop taking credit for what already happened inside of you. There's no formula. You just put yourself in the position of grace to, you know, I like to say you play on the freeway of grace, you get hit by a car. You sit in your living room drinking 6-pack of Coors, less likely to get hit by the freeway of grace. It's a loose Adyashanti quote there, but he talks a lot about providing the conditions for sleep, right? If you're trying to go to sleep and living next to the freeway, probably not going to happen. A nice quiet room, you're probably going to, right? What about letting go of something? Letting go, you know, grieving someone. How do you let go? The ego doesn't do it, folks. The ego's job is not to let go. That is not the ego's job. The ego thrives in duality. When there's stillness, the ego disappears. The ego is a verb. When there's stillness, the ego disappears. It's a tool for duality. So the secondary voice. So I did my caffeine austerity, but I did not do my weed one. Down 50 to 75%, but I was noticing like, so there was a secondary voice with the weed. That's my report to all of you is there's sort of a teenager in me, and he's just like, no, I still like it, and I'm not going to stop. And okay, do my best to make you happy, you know, like, while I'll smoke my way through another cleanse, you know. It's so ironic. And yet here we sit, you know. So that's why that was in my notes, is the true happiness is found when the secondary voice is either seen through or accepted or disappears. The other report I have is I asked Drew about, he started taking the SP Cleanse product, anything change for you? And one question I'll ask all of you is that, so one of the side effects of smoking weed is, especially around bedtime, is it does knock out the dream recall. By the way, if you want more dream recall, vitamin B6, synthetic B6, right before bed is amazing for dream recall. Yeah, the synthetic form of B6 is fantastic for dream recall. I've done it. It was a product that Center Process makes. The reason why I like Center Process is because they have a B6 niacin compound that's in a liver whole food base. So they give you the synthetic, they put it in a whole food base. That's very smart. Because there's no enzymes in the synthetic. Remember we were talking about this? You guys missed that, but everything runs on enzymes. Your thoughts are run by enzymes. And so if you're taking a synthetic vitamin, you're robbing your body of enzymes to process the synthetic. And so we have a new couple here I'll mention. When you see USP on a multivitamin label or a B vitamin label, guess what that means? United States what?
Processed.
Nope. On the natural food bottle,
United States.
sold in the health food store, what does USP mean? You'll see them.
Undesirable products.
It means United States Pharmacopoeia.
Ooh.
So Pfizer and Merck, they buy the coal mining waste, they refine it, and they turn it into B vitamins that Rainbow Light and all the natural food companies uses. And they're proud of their pure B vitamins. I've talked to Claire and Pure Encapsulations about this. Say, you're fucking out, never using you again. With that kind of attitude. It's very arrogant. That's like when they stripped all the B vitamins out of wheat and then they added back the synthetics into the bread. And they said, oh, it's just as good. Oh, not even close. Not even close. So that was, I wanted to introduce that. And most of your ascorbic acid is made from GMO corn syrup in China. Because sugar and vitamin C, or ascorbic acid part of C, are only one enzyme removed from each other, glucose. And what's the cheapest way to make glucose? GMO corn.
What about the liposome one?
I have NIH studies that show when you take pure ascorbic acid in 500 milligrams or more, it damages your arteries. And I have the NIH study.
But that's different from what, so.
Liposomal vitamin C is a water soluble vitamin. Why are we making it fat soluble? Why? I mean, you're a guinea pig.
To last a little longer.
Nature made vitamin C water soluble for a reason. And I have never recommended liposomal. I never will. Maybe 10 years out when I see that people haven't died from it, but I'm not making my clients guinea pigs. You're a guinea pig. Never in the history of humanity has people used liposomal C. So I'm very conservative about these new ego because they're based in someone's ego. Oh, look what I did. I made liposomal C. Just like Lugol's iodine's been around since 1840. Now they have Lugol's iodine. Dr. Lugol developed Lugol's iodine in 1840. It was used for every thyroid condition. Now you have nascent iodine and this egotistical iodine, and it's subtle ego is what it is. I want a product named after me. I want the plant named after me. Venusema sylvestre. Lemon balm's called the Melissa officinalis. I don't give a fuck about Melissa. You know, tell me the Latin name of what the plants function. That's what Latin botany was about, was the plant, the Latin name was supposed to be the plant's function. And all these freaking egos people that they got egoed out. I got mine too. I'm happy to, you know, I got my formulations over there. I'm like, ooh, Craig Lane formulation. He's so awesome. You know, so
what C do you recommend?
whole food natural C from ideally from your garden, freshly picked plants. Nothing is better than that. Vitamins, oh, here it is. Thank you. Chemistry is a snapshot in time of a process. So vitamins aren't chemicals. Vitamin C is a sunlight vitamin, a water-soluble sunlight vitamin. Vitamin A is the fat-soluble sunlight vitamin. And so the best way to get C is right out of your garden. Once you pick a plant, the vitamin C drops 80 to 90% within 24 hours. That's right. And that's why we have a whole world of people deficient in vitamin C with pre-scurvy symptoms. Osteoporosis is a vitamin C deficiency symptom. That's right, it is.
So you got to eat the orange right away.
Yeah, you get all your different colors of the rainbow because flavonoids, you know the word bioflavonoid, flavanols are pigments in the plant. So there's a purple flavanol, orange, yellow, and you get all those different pigments, and you nurture your body in different frequencies, right?
That's a relative question. Orange is like.
We'll come back to it. We have 3 questions. So moving back to these subtle phenomena. So one of the things I look for is what's changed in my dreams. And so I had a repeating dream last night because I've been smoking earlier and stopping earlier and using a lot less. So I had some dream recall last night. And when a dream comes through with the weed use, then I know it's important. Spirit wants me to. So woke up this morning, and it's a theme that's been with me a lot of my life is traveling somewhere and then not having a ticket home. So I was in this dream last night in Mexico with all these people, probably a few of you were even there. Everybody's getting on the plane, going back, and I'm like, where's my ticket? And I'm in the dream, and I was taught in dream therapy, you know, the most important thing is the feeling. I got this feeling of panic, like I'm abandoned, I'm going to be left behind, and it's like so the work came up for me. It was like, oh, well, let's abandoned in a foreign land. And that's I'll never say I was abandoned because I wasn't, but I've had a lot of perceived abandonment in my life. Perceived abandonment. So it's a very real trauma for me. And I was abandoned on a lot of occasions. I was the guy that we went surfing as a teenager. I'd be the guy they would leave behind. And because I wasn't the cool, hot, best surfer. The tall people don't surf very well. The short people usually surf better because you got these limbs flailing around everywhere. Mark Richards used to call him the gull wing surfer. His wings were always out. Gull wing surfer. So we can throw it out there now. A couple other phenomena that you might notice in your cleansing is the bowels will change, the urine could change, your skin could change. Some people get dry, some people's skin gets oilier. So if you get a skin phenomena during a cleanse, it means you're not draining fast enough. And I have a client, one client, and this is her 3rd attempt at a cleanse, and she goes into symptom land right away. I'm not going to name the symptoms because she could actually watch this, and I want to keep it sort of clean for her. But I told her, I said, your drainage pathways are probably blocked somewhere in the bowels. The one that no one talks about is the portal veins. All the veins from the intestines go up to the liver, and nobody talks about the hepatic portal circulation. Nobody does. When you see the belly sticking out without fat, that's water retention that's not going up towards the liver. Those little pipes going back to the liver are clogged. And when you see hemorrhoids, varicosities, problems down here in the pelvis, generally it's because the portal veins are not functioning well and they're atherosclerotic. Atherosclerosis begins in the portal veins. Because all the food we eat goes to the liver before anywhere else in those portal veins.
Can you expand on atherosclerosis, please?
Yeah, it's like if your pipe going back to the liver is this wide, then there's silt. Because these veins are like filters that the body's absorbing food, so the silt builds up.
Thank you. That's perfect.
So yeah, and then as the silt builds up, the tube gets smaller and smaller. And then what happens with a smaller tube, the water will back up in the pipe, right? The last house we were just in was a good example of that. They were old clay pipes. Every time it rained, they would swell and the sink would clog up.
And here the dishwasher doesn't work because the pipe is too low.
Right, and we had a dishwasher issue here, this pipe. Just, so we got these pipes, you know, like sort of unglorious, they call in the body with pipes, you know, but those portal veins. You could see changes in your energy. Gina and I were talking about just really bipolar energy, like a lot of energy, and then an hour later, like, what the hell just happened? And then lay down, and then tons of energy, and then down. I think now I'll open it up a little bit. Does anybody have a couple questions? You had a question.
Yeah, I've given up coffee and it's been 10 days. And my question to you would be, what do you find with, I did coffee. I got off for 7 days and I was on caffeine, and then I got off green tea and black tea. So do you think I should I'm becoming more introverted and I don't like it? I mean, it's like, people are thinking I'm not fun, I'm not expressive, I don't know what I'm thinking. So I'm having an identity crisis because I gave up coffee, and I was wondering, if you're having that.
Wow.
We're on lockdown.
Wow.
No, well, none of us.
First of all, I just want to say how vulnerable and honest that is, especially in a group setting on a recording. You know, like, thank you. I think about identity, and so I don't feel this fun either.
I know, right?
But it's a story. And how do we get beyond the story? Because the story is what's holding us back, actually. All the caffeine's doing is it's giving us a reason to be the person that we already are. And I'm still working on my own, because there's something about, like, I think about that. Well, what did I think about? Oh, yesterday it was a warm day, and those little yerba mate fizzy, you know, like the classic gold. You ever have one of those little, oh my God. And so I was thinking about one of those yesterday, like, oh, I'll be so much happier. I'll have more energy, I'll have more enthusiasm. And I thought, wait a minute, who's talking?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah.
You're like, who is that? And so that's the work, is who is the I that needs it, right? And I just bought Adyashanti's new book. It's called, it's based on meditative self-inquiry. And that's the way you get around this stuff, is just to keep inquiring, who are you? What do you want? Who are you? What do you want? And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying your answer is going to come right away. So I try to find something else to get me excited. It's like, this is my Ticino with maximum mental alert and gynostemma and honey and raw cream and fresh ground cardamom. And so cardamom's a stimulant in its own right, you know. And I was like, well, and it tastes good. So it's pretty close to coffee. This is the dandelion caramel nut flavor. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Wait, and then Monica had a question too. So
Yeah, thank you. That was good. Yeah.
just find
That
something
looks
else to
really
inspire.
fun, and I love Ticino. And they even have the beans that you can actually put through the grinder.
Yes.
All right. Yes.
And I found that you can actually eat the beans if you want to just munch it.
Oh,
Which
wow.
I found really yummy.
Oh, wow. Thank
So-
you. Awesome.
Craig said it didn't seem like it had anything, and I read it, didn't look like it had any problems, so.
Thank you.
Yeah. You had a question, or did it already answer?
I think that we already answered. So-
Okay, then,
Vermont.
Florence,
I was going to say, it's in your head why you think you may not be as
It's my
fun, but most
narrative.
people don't
Yeah,
see
it's a story I'm telling myself.
anything different,
Mhm.
or
Right.
they like you more even.
That's
Because you
true.
don't have to be like too loud or
Mhm.
anything. I know that you are. I'm
Thank
just
you.
like-
Yeah, no, there's a story I'm telling myself. Thank you.
Yeah.
yeah, I was very irritable today.
Maybe you'll attract different people and then you'll have balanced friends, like
Exactly.
friends that like you on caffeine and friends that like you not on caffeine. I have a question.
Okay, Jean is next.
Oh, sorry.
I still, I'm not sure why the coffee enema makes you feel so much more relaxed.
Okay,
Because you're cleaning your stuff out.
is that very personal?
Have you done one?
No, I'm supposed to, I tell myself do it, but it has a dramatic effect with Craig.
Uh,
I mean, you see me change.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll answer that question. So caffeine down this end is viewed as a stimulant. Caffeine at the other end, I mean, I had a client that I push people into this stuff. So she was really in need. And so she had never done caffeine her whole life. So it's really worried about the coffee enema, of course. She's like, what happens if I do the coffee enema and I'm going to be all wired? And I was like, wow, that's a good question. You've never done caffeine. I said, so she was an early riser. So I said, you get up at 6, right? Well, just do your enema right when you get up. So she did her enemas. And then I talked to her the next day. I said, so how'd it go? And she goes, well, it was the most productive day of my life. She said she couldn't believe the amount of work she got done. And she felt great, but she was energized all day and then had a normal sleep because she did it in the morning. I was telling Jean, I had them ready last night and I could have done them about 5:30, but sometimes I get into this euphoric bliss and it goes back to dreams. I got a couple of things to respond on this. So there's a correlation in the standard process tradition of these liver symptoms, and one of them is nightmares. So I asked the teacher at the time, I said, is there a correlation between toxicity and nightmares? And he said, absolutely. And so that's why I was saying that I don't have bad dreams anymore. I haven't had a bad dream in 25 years, 20 years. So this abandoned in foreign land, though, is as close to a bad dream as they come for me. And what does that tell me? I'm stirring up liver toxins right now and taking these heavy liver supplements. So it's stirring up something down in there. So the coffee enema, I had an experience. I probably struggled through the first 15 or 20 enemas, probably 10 or 15 years ago. I mean, I've done probably 20,000 enemas since. I mean, so it's a lot, but it was about enema 15, 16, 17. And the coffee enema is basically a quart of very weak coffee and you're laying on your right side for 15 minutes. And they say it cycles through the liver every 3 minutes. So that way you're getting 5 cycles through the portal veins back through the liver to de-sludge those portal veins. And so I had a quart of coffee in my colon, and I'm a longtime meditator, and I know what Nirvikalpa Samadhi feels like. It's the first state of bliss. And so I passed out with a quart of coffee in my colon. And I had the wherewithal. I'd set my alarm because I usually just kind of lay there and, set the alarm. Okay, I'm done. And the alarm went off and I popped back in from wherever I was. And it's like, was I asleep? But it wasn't really sleep. It was like I had slept 8 hours. And I feel down there like, how did I not expel the coffee? I was asleep, for 10 or 15 minutes with a quart of coffee in my colon. Like, wow, that's pretty cool that my body kept that sphincter tightened up there and didn't leak. And then I just started doing some research. Like, what was that? And that was the clearing of all this sludge and waste from this back side of the liver, I call it, from the back of the portal veins. And having guided probably 1,000 people through detoxes over the last 25 years, I'll tell you, people when they start purging stuff out of their intestines, they start having memory recalls of trauma in their past. And I had a lot of stuff. I had a couple of different rat's nests come out of me, of worms, and a space egg alien come out, and a zebra stripe and a polka dot and black tar. I had every shape and size and color come out of me. And each time something weird would come out, there would be a buzz. It was like the parasite that was sucking my life force was gone, and I could feel my life force jump when the thing purged out. And then usually a memory would come from my past childhood. Suppressed memory that was probably lodged there. And through body work, same thing happens. A lot of people I do body work on, they go, what's that? And you hang out there. Oh, fuck. It's got a memory of my uncle abusing me when I was 8 years old in the swimming pool. You know, it was one client. So we store a lot of memories in this earth suit. So that's back to the dream thing. So the coffee enema, I believe the science around it is they say that one of the compounds in coffee is palmitic acid, and it increases liver detox 700%. When you look and try and find validation of that, though, there's not any validation of it. I don't know where the original piece of work with that was, but subjectively, what I have seen, and I've talked to nurses who used to do coffee enemas in hospitals, folks. Used to administer coffee enemas in hospitals for pain. So my experience with coffee enemas is depression, pain, and headaches. It wipes them out. 99% gone. So that's why you do them. You got pain? Fuck the aspirin, do a coffee enema. You got depression? Do a coffee enema. Fuck the stimulant. You got achy joints? Often achy joints are sluggish liver. It's just a sluggish liver. So Standard Process has a product called Beta-Col. That's what they give it to people with the joint problems. And this isn't pot joint problems. I got my own joint problems. You gotta have a little fun with the joint stuff. So I don't know, I wouldn't say it's relaxing, it's more like euphoric. And then my whole system, I believe that when we don't feel joy and euphoria regularly, then we go into these other dysfunctional emotions. And so I have to have my daily dose of bliss, or I just get dysfunctional. So I know it's there. That our cells know it's like you've got a partner, and you know that partner is going to help you. You know, when you have sex, it's going to feel pretty good. Hopefully, it's like, oh, I know there's good stuff over there, and that's kind of what I feel. It's like I know there's good stuff, and I'm not getting it. So then part of me gets irritated. Why can't I get the bliss? Why can't all that mate give me that bliss? Why can't the sex give me the bliss? Because it's meant to come from another place, maybe. That help?
Yeah.
Okay. So subjectively, I have seen amazing results, and pretty much every cancer therapy sees amazing results. But it's really tough because the people that are controlling the double-blind studies, they're not allowing this stuff to be studied, really, in a fair way. And but we don't need double-blind rat studies. You know, that's the joke going around right now. You know, the COVID thing. The rats are waiting for the human study to be over.
Yeah.
That one was good.
That's a good meme. The two rats are talking. Hey, I'm gonna wait till the human study's over before I take that vax, which isn't a vax, but that's another story. Any other questions? Did you have?
You had a huge realization. Your mouth is still open.
Yeah.
What was it that you?
Wait. Katie's question first.
Okay.
Well, okay. On the coffee enema, just one little thing about that. How often do you do it? Like how many times a year or a month? Or?
For maintenance, my ideal is once a week on a week-to-week basis. If you have really an active cancer or a really bad degenerative condition, then you might need up to daily, up to 3 times a day.
Oh, wow.
And I've tried it. I
Under
was
what conditions? do you do it?
cancer and other degenerative conditions.
So if you did it like once a month, that'd be like good.
You know, there's
Once a week's a little impractical.
the downside of it is I met a woman 15, 20 years ago. She was addicted to daily enemas. And that gave me huge red flags. It's like, I never want to be where I need an enema, you know.
And it doesn't matter what kind of coffee.
No, it needs to be organic. And there's actually enema roasted coffee. I'm not joking.
What?
Enema roasted coffee.
Is it French roast or something?
It's just lightly roasted.
Only-
Yeah. It's just lightly
Only in
roasted.
Santa Cruz where you hear that right there.
This isn't Santa Cruz. This is like this company's up in Washington,
Wow.
of all places. Yeah.
There's a market for everything.
Enema roasted coffee.
Or you can use the Chino.
No, Tagino's not coffee.
So do you use like a regular bag?
Wait, let's go back. Hold on one second.
I'm not that far.
So then the final thing is I did try to, what happened, so it's a cleansing therapy. So it's like frequencies, processes, action. So the action is catabolic, it's draining on the body. So if you don't have the life force to get that draining going, then you're going to get very fatigued. And that's the sign that you don't want to do them too often. If you do them too often, you can get very fatigued. And so I tried to do 3 in 3 days, 9 in 3 days. I was on a vacation in Santa Barbara, and that's how I was going to spend my vacation, was doing 3 coffee enema sequences in the course of a day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, 1 in the evening. And I got through 3 the first day. And I tell you, that evening I was a zombie. I just,
Are we supposed to keep confidentiality in this room?
am I breaking it?
Just not many people would go on vacation, take 3 coffee enemas a day.
Right.
I mean, that's memorable. That's all.
So the second
I was
day,
just making a joke.
oh, thank you, James. The second day I was able to get 2 in, and I was exhausted after the second one. And then the third day I only got 1 in. So I got 6 in 3 days, and I will never do it again. It was like, I felt like the life had drained out of me. So that would be too many. But I'm an edge walker. I spent my life going to the edge and then sometimes beyond. Oh, broken neck. Oh, no, that's too far. Oh, that 20-foot wave, that's too much. Trying to dig a hole in the earth with my bare hands. Well, I just cut my hands up. That's too much, you know. Edge walker, you know, edge walker. Well, yeah, John work out. So you had a,
You were talking about
real-
the parasites leaving your body. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
You felt like energetically something shifted afterwards. Were they like actual living parasites or just like spiritual like parasites?
I have a picture of the space egg alien that came out of me. I fished it out of the toilet, took a picture of it.
Can you repeat that?
I have a space egg alien that came out of me. It looked like a jellyfish.
Yeah, that is a show and tell, but we need.
A visual.
Was it
Um,
big or small?
it's on a hard drive in the back, but I'll bring it to you next week. I'll show you the
It's
picture.
not
next
in
week.
the.
And we'll hold you, we'd like to hold you to that.
Oh, I got it. Because no one ever believed me. No one ever believed me. I'd be like, you can't believe what just came out of me. But like, sure they did, Craig.
See,
And
that's what formaldehyde is really for.
so that's
That
where
should be on the
that's where I
menu.
said, okay. I was with Noelle at the time. I was with my partner Noelle at the time, and so we started taking photographs. Like,
Yeah.
because she had candida squids coming out of her. She had squiddly stuff. and-
Couple.
And-
Yeah.
We actually, I have a blog. We both would do coffee enemas together and spoon on the bathroom floor. That's true love. We both had a quart of coffee in our colon, spooning on the bathroom floor for 15 minutes.
You know, I heard that Farrah Fawcett and Lee Majors had 2 toilets facing each other in the same bathroom. And that was the end of their marriage. Thank you, James. Wonderful. So yeah, they were real, and all I can say is I'm really a sensitive person. So when something comes out of me, I know if it's normal or not. So when the space egg came out of me, it went bloop in the toilet and made a splash, and I was like, that's not normal. So I got my little strainer out and fished it out. And I poked at it with a chopstick, and it was like a jellyfish. And I didn't want to burst it open though, but the thing was about, it was about that big. It was like that big, and it had a yellow mucus around it, a white mucus around it, and then a greenish black mucus around it. And it was like, you know, it was like
A
what is-
multi-layered egg.
oh,
And this came out from a coffee enema.
these this I was using parasite herbs in with the coffee enema also, using anti-parasite herbs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we all have parasites too, so it's really.
Parasite therapy really works, folks, if you really do it. I mean, yeah. So the coffee got the sludge out. You should be afraid.
After hearing this, right?
When Hildy Clark, who wrote A Cure for All Cancer, says 95% of people have parasites, she is correct.
And they cause cancer. the parasites.
May or may not. Parasites are used in autoimmune therapy. They give live helminths to people with asthma, and their asthma goes away.
Yeah, not all parasites are bad.
It's like
Which-
bacteria, right?
Well, let's look at the mechanism of that. So a person's got an autoimmune condition, they give them a parasite and their autoimmune condition goes away. What the hell is that action? What's going on there? Maybe you want to venture a guess? I've already given you guys the answer, but
The parasite's digesting something that their body is reacting from, like
good
a,
guess.
like a jab earlier in their life.
Yeah.
and it helps
that's
the condition.
correct.
Like an antibody for it.
That's correct, but there's another reason.
I don't
why.
know. Tell us.
Histamine.
So, you know, when we die, people die of COVID or they die of an illness. You don't die because of the germs. You die because your immune system kills you.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So that's the clue. So what is happening to the immune system when you introduce the parasite?
Oh, it becomes because the parasite instead of doing.
The parasite becomes target practice for the immune
instead of
system.
Takes it
Oh,
out.
isn't that fascinating? Okay.
Yeah, so it distracts the
Yeah,
immune system
yeah.
from killing your own cells to kill the parasite or weaken it. One of Augenus's therapies for autoimmunity that a couple of the twins have done, if you know the Sienna and her little crowd, Michael McAvoy knows them. I got the firsthand knowledge. The three of them did it. They did a moldy fruit drink. I spoke about it a few weeks ago. And so the mold became the target for the immune system and their autoimmunity went away. They got very sick for a few weeks, but their autoimmune problem went away.
And this is even cured cancer, because it gives you a fever for like a month.
It could, yeah.
That's what you're talking about?
Yeah, could.
Okay.
I'd be careful about the application of this, however, you know. But you and I could talk on the side, because if you throw in magnets and frequencies and energies with this, then we're getting somewhere, James, you know?
A couple other things, yes.
Yeah, I think
We'll
that,
have that talk.
okay, give that talk. Wow, great. So yeah, and generally when you start, you've got to, that's why in my cleanses, the first week is getting the sludge out of the body that the parasites are living within. And she missed the talk. You guys missed, okay, look, a couple of you missed the talk last week. This is gross, but you guys ready for it?
He gave us a warning.
So you have,
We're sitting down.
you're sitting down. So we're gonna draw a little diagram of your intestines. Let's see. Should we make a worm in red? Yeah, let's have a little wormy in red. Okay, so we'll have blue be the normal biofilm. Okay, so there's a normal biofilm. Anybody ever made a kombucha? Seen a kombucha SCOBY? So the biofilm down in your intestines is sort of like that. And it's one living entity. So if something comes in at the top, but it's at the bottom knows. When I was addicted to sugar, I would eat sugar to excess. And on the first bite, I would feel my lower bowel starting to rumble. It was like, oh boy, Craig's feeding us more sugar. Because I was the guy that I had so much yeast, I would eat sugar and get drunk.
Oh, wow.
That's been proven to happen. That's been proven to happen in court. People have been pulled over for drunk driving with no drinks.
And it's sugar.
And it's sugar.
Fermentation.
One judge told the guy, if he gets caught drunk on sugar again, he's gonna give him a DUI.
Ah,
He threw it out of court. This is in a naturopathic book.
But he gave him a warning.
He gave him a warning. He said, it doesn't matter whether it's alcohol or sugar, bro, you don't get to get off. Next time I see you in here on a DUI from sugar, either clean up your gut or stop the sugar.
He really told him
Yeah, it's in the story in this naturopath book. It's called The Fungus Link is the name of the book, The Fungus Link. I figured James might want to write that one down. The Fungus Link. I have the book somewhere, James. So here's your little diagram. And so you have a normal lining, and then I saw this photograph in this one book by Richard Anderson, Arise and Shine Cleansing System. And this black tar, what happens when you do the clay psyllium, you do these clay psyllium shakes, and the clay and the psyllium sort of sticks to your intestinal lining. And then at some point, after it's glommed onto enough, it peels off like a scab. The record is like 10 to 15 feet have come out of people.
yeah.
This long
Like
black
that, too.
tar. That's not what's originally in the intestines. That's the clay psyllium bound to the intestines. But nevertheless,
In one piece?
sometimes one piece, I had black tar coming out of me, which is black tar came out of me. I didn't have one piece. I would have like thousands of pieces coming out of me. And this one guy, though, he had about 5 feet that came out and had little pinholes in it. And the pinholes are where the worms were crawling in and out to get fed. They would crawl into the intestines and eat the food as it was coming along and then crawl back into their little home, their little hovel, their little hobbit hovel inside your body.
I was recently freaked out about parasites and I ordered a parasite testing kit from this company in Scottsdale, Arizona. And it came back and I didn't have any. But I wonder if like how accurate the test was.
They're not accurate. I've been seeing parasite testing for 25 years. They're almost always false positives and negatives. And you got to assume the worst and do the work.
So just kill the worms.
Well, you don't, I think that we all have natural worms in us. We don't want to wipe them all out. I mean, it's like H. pylori. People that wipe out all their H. pylori, then they also have autoimmune problems. But if they let it overgrow, then they have stomach problems. So there's a fine line of a balance. In the ecology down there, I don't think we want to get too smart because we really don't want to know what the hell we're doing. And people that say they do, they're full of fucking shit. That's what the triple F word. They're full of fucking shit. They don't know, we don't know. We don't know what's going on in there. People say that they do and they don't. So I tell people my way is screw the testing. It doesn't work. You know why? The bugs know when you're going for the test and they go hide.
Wow.
They hide.
They hide.
Why?
Wouldn't you?
They know the test.
They know the jig is up. They're gonna go hide. They're very intelligent. They're very intelligent. Some of these bugs, like bacteria, have been around a lot longer than we have.
Hey, so Craig, what's the comparison between the amount of nerve endings in your intestines and your brain?
You know, it varies by the person. I have
It's
people,
about equal.
right?
Yes.
But some people don't feel it. They're so numb down there. I go in and I do tummy palpations for my exam, and it's like 0, 0 out of 5, 0 out of 5, no pain, no pain. And I go, you have obvious digestive symptoms and you got no triggers anywhere in here. So their vagus nerve superhighway is completely blocked, or the receptors down there aren't working.
Has anybody else here had a colonoscopy without any anesthesia?
No anesthesia.
Me, I do everything with no anesthesia. Yeah, and I've got one
It
doctor
was
in LA.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but
It was
I
uncomfortable.
did natural.
Wow.
So I did
I'll
herbs.
never get another one.
No,
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
never get one.
No, the doctor, I did it just to pacify somebody.
Did you do the propylene glycol too?
You know what? That's a longer subject. I cheated so well. It was fabulous.
Oh,
And I
good.
was complimented on how clean my colon was.
Really?
And I literally ate 6 hours before.
What?
Only because I did they said not to eat for 36 hours.
Yeah.
Somehow after a stupid city council meeting, somebody had a bunch of really good spaghetti and meatballs. I ate a bunch. So I got that completely out of my system less than an hour and 20 minutes after I started doing their stuff. And also a coffee and salt. And it went from whatever to clear. And then I ate again in the morning just to mess with them. And it all, and I basically just used that, whatever they said, and then the coffee and the salt water. And oh, you really did a good job. You were totally clean. And I was like, I just kept my mouth closed. Oh my God. Well, because the directions had changed. My friend, his was don't eat anything after midnight, start drinking this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
They added another 24 hours to mine. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like,
I would
fuck you.
die.
It's, typical. Yeah,
Long time.
I'm just a human being.
Typical big pharma.
36 hours. Wow.
So you did take the stuff they wanted you to do too? Propylene
Yeah, but I
glycol?
did it. Yeah, oh yeah. But I only took half of it the first night, and I was kind of getting stressed, and all of a sudden I just sat for a while,
Mhm.
and so everything was clear. It was clear. And the same thing happened that morning. And I couldn't leave to the appointment until I was done. I think I had to stop on the way because I wasn't done. It was great. I had 3 nurses holding my hand. The doctor, 1 to 10, I'd really give him negative. He was a freak.
Oh.
And it was just no bedside manner.
Yeah.
Just laughed. But the women were great. It was great seeing my sphincter muscles. That was really cool. And he didn't ask my permission to take something that wasn't a pollen. It was just a discoloration. And I felt that.
Oh, that jerk. That
I
jerk.
felt that.
He did the lasso around it and pinched it
No,
off.
he had something that went out and drum.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Oh, no, you could, I saw it.
You
And I'm
did
like,
the,
because I was
comb-
watching, because I
comb
wanted to
biopsy.
first see, and you can see,
Yeah.
makes that first double 90.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Another double 90.
yeah.
That was a go to roll. And then I got to see it all on film, and I'm like, wow, it looked virtually flawless. There was only like 1 or 2 discolorations on everything I watched. And he didn't ask my permission. He just took something. I know what polyps look like.
Yeah.
You know, some people have Adam's apples all throughout their intestines. Anyway, you have done a colonoscopy without it. Yeah.
I do
It
all
was
those things. I
uncomfortable.
just found one doctor in all of California,
Yeah.
UCLA. She'll let me not even take all the drugs before. She'll let me do everything without anesthesia. It's been a big process.
You all know what propylene glycol is.
Yeah. Remind us, please.
It's an antifreeze derivative.
Yeah.
It's machine-based cleanser.
And it goes by the
It
name
is,
of.
it is so
Vaccine.
incredibly
it's over the
toxic.
counter. So
I
That's why you
looked into
poop it out so
That's
fast.
why, yeah, your body's shooting everything out of you, trying to get rid of the poison.
Is
And
that what they make us drink?
Yeah, and that's what they make you drink.
Oh.
my.
So what you
my,
need to know is you should really always look everything up.
So what you do?
And
instead
then
of-
go back and ask exactly why do you
Yeah.
want me to do this? And they can't answer.
Yeah.
Well, because it's a good thing to do, and so when they can't answer, it's a really good idea not to do it.
So
Yeah.
what would you do?
My
You
GI
don't
said
need
I can do
calcium.
magnesium, heavy amounts of.
Yeah,
coffee.
yeah,
So
coffee
you
and
have to
salt.
have
I
an
did
empty
coffee and salt.
cigarette.
Yeah. Works great.
No, it
Yeah.
worked great.
Number one, what you can do is cleanse and then get a couple of high colonics. Number two, it is not anywhere proven that this is a good idea to have somebody go up your butt and take things out.
I-
It is a terrible idea that if you ask, I mean, as soon as I had a little bit of insurance, they're like, yeah, you should do this while you have a chance. I'm like, I don't trust somebody wanting to throw $2,000 supposedly in my benefit when you don't know me. Why would you want to do that for me? I don't think I'm sick.
And
Ugh.
my cousin, who was in ICU
Oh,
for years and
wonderful.
years and years, she said, because I told her I'm never doing a colonoscopy. And she said, well, I totally agree with that, because all the people, there was such a high percentage of people that ended up in her ICU.
Yes.
Because of colonoscopies that went wrong.
Ooh.
Wow.
Especially
It's common.
after the
Ooh.
second
That's
or
right.
third one.
Oh,
If you've ever done it, know that you're done and don't go back. Because the second and third time, it's much harder on your body. Once you try looking up this stuff and you see one person saying, this is not a good idea, and you see another guy saying, no, this is poison, and then another one, you get a little more energy to watch. I did at least 15 hours of research on it, and I tell everybody I
I've
can.
done tons of research.
There are people who have colon cancer in their families, and they're the ones who are scared the most into doing it. I can't tell them not to do it, but I can tell them there's a lot of other stuff to do if you're afraid of cancer.
Yeah.
Okay,
Please
that,
consider doing all of that instead.
that's the solution. So the solution here is I have a client that she wanted to go in for, I mean, she wanted to spend thousands of dollars of diagnosis to get this ovarian cancer thing checked out. And all the tumors and blah, blah, blah. And I go, why?
That's it.
You have a certain amount of money and time. I go, so you assume the worst and do the work. That's always been my way. Then you spend your money on treatment versus, oh, I have to know precisely how big the tumor is, and $10,000 later, now I know, and now I don't have any money for treatment.
Not to mention, it's been sliced into and the cancer's running rampant.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
There's
Spreads it.
so many
Oh,
things wrong with the model. And if we would talk to each other more and question the doctors more, you find out. I've been on the phone with people who are talking with their cancer specialists and they can't answer my simple questions. And the person is usually afraid and not wanting to ask those questions and convinced that they have to do this thing of trust the person completely. Why? You're paying this person to mess with you, and they aren't even asking you enough questions to keep your well-being intact.
Well, the
Come
doctor
on.
is the new priest of science.
And they're under-informed
The
about
doctor is the
most
priest of
aspects
science.
of true health.
Yeah.
Right.
They're
Right.
over-informed about how to write this thing called a script.
There's like
Very-
one good
they're
one out of every
overpaid for it.
1,000.
They
Okay.
get
If that.
$400
You can get over
for
a kid.
every 2-year-old that
Yeah.
does their vaccinations.
Yeah.
After-
Really?
Yes, after 40 of them, it's an extra $40,000. Those
Oh,
pediatricians are
look at
making
that.
fucking bank because they have thousands of clients.
Okay,
I
well,
can't
here's
tell you
a,
how many interesting conversations I've had with pediatricians.
so to that point, Kate Shanahan, MD, in her book, Deep Nutrition, she dropped out of the medical model when her clinic became this, and this is a quote from the book, Deep Nutrition. I used to be judged by certain health standards as a doctor, you know, in my clinic. And then the standards changed where my performance as a medical doctor is now based on how many drugs I put people on and how long they're on them.
Yeah.
End quote.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she dropped out and did cash only and moved to Maui.
Nice.
How long ago did she hear that?
This book's probably 10 years old.
I have a
compassion for
suggestion
people
for
who
how
go
doctors
through
like
medical
that would function better, but I'm not gonna say it.
A solution,
not.
say again, what?
I have a suggestion for how doctors like that would function better.
Quit.
No, that's not what it's. Think book of Eli.
No.
We and I got to talk. So my way has always been, Craig, do you have candida? How do I test for candida? How do I test for parasites? Assume the worst and do the work. I got cancer. They never get it all. I've been doing cancer since 96. My first case was stage 4 pancreas cancer. I was terrified. I tried to push the guy away. Like, what? No, not me. No, I'm a rookie. No. And the guy's like, you're the one. Terrified. So I call my teacher up. Dude, I got stage 4. You know, like this is a death sentence. So whatever it was, the guy lived 20 years. All I gave was my teacher was like, just give him the general recommendations. Don't be a hero. You know, don't step outside your scope, you know, which was nutrition at the time. And then I got another one a few years after that, down in San Luis Obispo, another woman with pancreas cancer. And then I started to see like the psychic cancer stuff. And you know, this woman, she was making a meal for herself, a meal for her husband, and a meal for the 2 kids. She had sacrificed her entire life in martyrdom for the family and had nothing for herself. I see this in a lot of breast cancer cases. And so her psychic cancer was, her joy was gone. And she was just serving the family. So I took her aside and said, what is it you really want in life? Because this isn't it. I can see that. And she goes, well, I used to be a piano teacher. And I really miss playing the piano, but I don't have time anymore because of the cancer and all this.
That's what cured her.
She's still alive because of that.
Yeah.
I said, when can you make time, an hour a day for this? And she said, well, 5 to 6 a.m. I can go to bed a little earlier and get up a little earlier. And that's what saved her life, I think.
Yeah, there's a guy that does, I forget his name, I can physically describe what he looks like, that describes people that recover from cancer are the ones that focus on themselves. The ones that die are the ones that continue to sacrifice their lives for others.
That's right.
Yeah, I forget the guy's name.
Society always tell you
But I'll
be
get back to
selfish.
Yeah, that's-
No, I'm taking up. Yeah.
Right, in society, they make you feel selfish if you focus on yourself.
Right,
You know,
right.
instead of,
Yeah.
that's healthy.
Well, that's just a little bit that's part of the larger propaganda rhetoric scheme, you know, the narrative of, oh, you need, you know, you ladies need to care for the family and sacrifice yourself and, you know, all that mumbo jumbo. Let's see, I think I got through those. Psychic. Oh, snacks. Couple more questions. We're at 9:20. Okay, so vinegar, there's this whole thing about vinegar versus lemon juice. So lemon juice is higher in potassium and it's viewed as cooling after it's burned through the body. Vinegar is viewed as warming. So yes, vinegar is cleansing. It's very good for the liver. And James, you're gonna love this word. The word is, vinegar helps knock out and deactivate guanidine. And I'm gonna spell that, guanidine. It's a tissue poison. Guanidine is spelled G-U-A-N, D-I-N-E. It's an alkaline tissue poison. And that's why you wake up with the sore joints and then it kind of gets better as you move along a little bit. That's guanidine. And apple cider vinegar can knock that out.
It's not from constipation too.
It's a tissue poison from constipation. That's right. That's right.
Alkaline what, please?
Poison. It's a bowel poison is what it is, and it gets into the bloodstream. And Royal Lee's talk about it. Royal Lee, if you go to Saline River Press, James.com, SalineRiverPress.com, and you type in guanidine, you'll get a Royal Lee, a couple articles about it. And I also have a couple articles I can email you. How apple cider vinegar. The original work with that was D.C. Jarvis. Vermont Folk Medicine was the book. Physician D.C. Jarvis back in the 60s. And God, I mean, I've told this story so many times, but D.C. Jarvis, Vermont Folk Medicine. And this was a doctor that moved out to the mountains of Vermont in the 60s, thinking he was going to be, there was no doctors in the town, and that should have been the clue. But he moved to this town, and he had set up his shop, and 6 months goes by, and nobody came to see him. The small town of Vermont. And he's like, why is nobody coming to see me? What the hell? And so he went out to the town folks, started asking questions like, how come you guys don't need a doctor? And they go, well, we have raw honey, we have apple cider vinegar, we have Lugol's iodine, we have herbs. And so he said, I'm going to learn from you town folk. And so the book is about him learning folk medicine.
That's excellent.
Yeah. Vermont Folk Medicine, D.C. Jarvis. Very good read. Oh my God. And what he noticed about apple cider vinegar is they would feed, they did this study for him. They had 2 troughs with all the cows. And they had one trough with the cows, and the other trough, they poured apple cider vinegar on the cattle feed. All the cows went to the apple cider vinegar feed. And
all the cows on the apple cider did what?
They were given a choice between a trough of food without apple cider vinegar poured on the dry food, and the other one where the apple cider vinegar was poured on the dry food. All of them went to the apple cider vinegar food, and they grew on average 15% bigger and 15% more milk.
That's fascinating. Okay. Wow. Thank you for that.
My mother had a Labrador that had the classic, the lab with the back leg arthritis. So I said, hey, Mom, your animal's not eating any raw meat. That's what it needs. So what we had her do is she had the dry kibbles, and she put 2 raw eggs over the dry kibbles, some olive oil, again, a little apple cider vinegar. And the dog lasted another 2 years with that recipe, with the raw egg protein, the raw olive oil, and the apple cider vinegar on the dry feed.
It's easy to make raw pet food, super easy.
Yeah.
With the Vitamix especially,
Yeah.
you get good quality meat, chicken with bones, grind it up in your Vitamix with raw eggs and a few vitamins, and freeze it in little containers. They lap it up, love it.
They love it.
A great way to catch critters with the ground squirrels and whatever is to put apple cider vinegar on stuff.
Oh,
All
really?
mammals go for apple cider vinegar.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, James's question.
Okay. So I have a friend whose dog is now 13 months. She just gave birth to puppies maybe 5 weeks ago. Now she's got a lump. So add 2 eggs, apple cider vinegar, and what?
Olive oil.
Thank you. I'm gonna send that to her tonight.
Is lemon good? That way too?
Okay, now go back to the lemon. So lemon has its own set of positives and negatives. So lemon is viewed as cooling and higher in potassium. So apple cider vinegar better in the winter, lemon juice better in the summer. And lemon leaves a very alkaline residue. And people talk a lot about the problems with excessive acidity and cancer. That's not true. You can be overly alkaline and have trouble also. And so you know that you have trouble being overly alkaline because your pain and symptoms are aggravated when you're sleeping or at rest. You know your problems from alkalinity if your pain is aggravated when you're at rest. Now we have acid and alkaline pockets in the body. The stomach is an acid pocket. The stomach does not want to be alkaline. The small intestine wants to be alkaline. It does not want to be acidic. The colon wants to be slightly acidic, 6.5 pH. The mouth wants to be slightly alkaline. The blood wants to be slightly alkaline. So you have pH pockets in the body, and nobody talks about these compartments very much. So when I hear somebody say cancer thrives in an acidic environment, I just immediately go, ignorant. Your credibility is gone because you haven't actually looked at pH from a deeper level. Yeah, you got to look at pH from a deeper level because excessive alkalinity is more dangerous than excessive acidity. So I'll give you an example. Today, I did my enema this morning. So I did my saliva and urine pH afterwards to see what the enema did. And my saliva pH was 6.0 and my urine pH was 6.4. That's not good. You want your saliva pH to always be more alkaline than your urine pH. Yeah.
Do you have the book Alkalize or Die?
No, right there.
Or it takes 3 or 4 months to get it. I'll next time I see you, I'll show you a copy.
Okay.
The guy's pretty Nazis. It's an appropriate word, better adjectives, but
He's an alkalized Nazi.
I can't think of other adjectives that describe that. Well, Democrat, Republican, conservative, fascist, you know, just someone who is really just one way. Unbalanced.
The apple cider vinegar also is alkaline forming too, but not nearly as much so. And so,
So did you said your urine was less alkaline or more?
my urine was 6.4, my saliva was 6.0. And that was right after the enema. So I took it again later in the day and my saliva pH went up to 6.8 after I ate 2 meals. So I don't know what that was, but the enema stirred up a lot of acid, obviously. So much so it affected. The saliva pH doesn't change as fast as the urine. I had a teacher that was on a nuclear submarine with an electronic pH reader. So he said he could change his urine pH with all the drugs they had on the ship in an hour. He could change it from 7 down to 4.
Oh God. Whoa.
He was bored on a Navy submarine, you know, nothing else to do. So he had this electronic pH. He would just, I'm going to try this drug. And wow, my urine would drop down to 4.5. And so your urine can change in a couple hours pretty dramatically, but the saliva shouldn't. I think we go into snacks. So when you're cleansing, you know, you want the snack attack, you know, so what do you do? And Monica was talking about, anybody heard the word Wodging?
Wodging.
Wodging, nobody knows the word?
Yeah.
So I wrote a blog about this years ago called Juicing with Your Mouth. So I would chew up celery driving down the road in my car, chew it up and then spit the fiber out the window. Hopefully not hit anybody, but. And I wrote a blog about it. It was kind of a joke. And then Monica goes, well, there's a word for that. I'm like, really? It's called Wodging in British?
Yeah, it's called watching. It's like watching cows and stuff eat grass. They can swallow it, but we can do the first part. If you just chew the grass, chew your weeds. This is miner's lettuce. The stems are stringy. Chew them, swallow the juice, and spit out the stringy part. It's called Wodging, and it's really good. If you do it comfrey, you can actually repair bones under your teeth and gums. So,
Absolutely.
Thank you for that, Monica.
yeah, so it's a great way to weed too, because you like miner's lettuce, you take off the top part to put in your salad, but use the stems to just get some really great quick vitamin C and other great green juices.
The comfrey stems too. And the
Yeah,
borage,
comfrey stems
the
are great.
borage stems,
Yeah,
it's pure slime.
yeah.
The borage stem is pure slime. Yeah, you have to chop it up a little bit, but
That one's a little hard.
those are mucopolysaccharides, and those mucopolysaccharides are yin. So it's a way to restore your log. When we talk about yang is the fire, yin is the log, and Americans are yin deficient. Why? Because we keep burning the fire, burning our log down. It's a very simple way to understand yin and yang. So how do you replenish the log? Well, certainly not with another stimulant. Stimulants are by their very nature catabolic. By their very nature, caffeine and stimulants are tearing the body down. That's their very nature. That's their action.
What about keto coffee? The fact that the fat's in there, how does that affect?
Still, it's an adrenal stimulant. Any way you slice it, coffee is an adrenal stimulant and caffeine's a poison. You can dilute it down with fat if you want, but it's still a poison.
What about decaf?
Well, I tell people, like, if I'm going to do coffee, give me the fucking poison, man. You know, because there's still inflammatory compounds in the decaf.
So that's the processing.
My report to all of you is I have another guy, I have another success story, but generally over 20 years, getting people off of coffee, their pain levels drops 50%, just that alone. And I have a dramatic story of a guy that he's a friend of mine, and he doesn't like talking to me because he knows what I'm going to say. So he had this horrible hip pain, and he's an animal workout-aholic. I mean, he's just such a dear friend. So I'll do anything for him. And he calls me up last year, a couple of years ago. He's like, okay, my hip pain's getting horrible. What do I do? And then I go, you know the question I'm going to ask. And he's like, fuck, you're going to pick on my coffee again. And when I hear the possessive pronoun before the coffee, I know they're in trouble. My coffee.
Yeah.
You know, now we're in trouble. We got possessive pronoun before the coffee. Jesus. So I said, look, bro, give me a week.
That's how you get somebody on a protocol. It's just, this isn't forever. Just give me a week. So he gave me a week. He went off coffee. He went on a few supplements. His pain was gone. He's been off coffee for 2 years now.
Thanks for the reminder.
We are going to go.
Yeah, we're gonna end, let's end the recording, probably just some more questions. Goodbye, folks, real fast.
So should we go back to back?
There's no way.
Oh, this, okay.
God, this is not working. How do you get this thing? Hey, Monica, how does this, my click pad?
Try switching
Craig, that was
to something
great.
else. and
Yay.
Try doing this.
Wanna take a
Do that. Now.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, there's.